Okay. All right. So in the meantime, are my Windows friends? Have you?
So which program do you use for Windows to
If it doesn't have it.
Yeah, you can't have the edit since it's on the format.
Yeah, Sublime Text if it works.
Wait,
then
how
sure.
do you already have? Oh, no.
I just downloaded it. It
Yeah,
just downloaded a
that's
lot
fine.
faster than yours. I don't know
You
why.
can see if it, just search for
I'm
alternative
already
to
doing
BBS.
everything.
No, that's fine. And then, okay, sorry, it's hard for me to help you if I don't know what I'm doing, but.
No, it's
yeah.
okay.
So
Sounds
if you
good.
go back to your
I
email,
think it does work. Yeah.
now you should have, if you download this,
And you open it.
You'll
I mean,
be
basically,
ready.
you need something that is able to
You
connect
download
to
it as a
server.
text file or you can?
Okay.
I just downloaded it as
And
a text
that
file, but then I
is,
opened it in
BBS.
the text.
You could also, you know,
Close that.
if you
don't know. You
download
just- If it's in your downloads folder,
FileZilla,
you'll need it.
and you connect directly from there, you can, if you can open,
Yeah, it's right
oh,
here.
once you open a connection, and
Yeah.
I'll show you.
I want downloads.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
like
usually
on
it's
your
right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The only thing is for now,
I can figure that out very easily.
If you don't like the dark.
let's do this. Let's go and change, in Sublime Text only, just change your thing to .shc if it works.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Or Notepad++, that's another one, yeah, that's the one people use as well. Notepad, yeah, right? That's the one some people have used. So either use Notepad++ in Windows or you can use this. Alright. So, in the meantime, what we're going to do for Mac users, we're going to go to the right hand corner, right here where this button is, little search toolbar thingy, and click that. And when the spotlight search comes out, you're going to enter terminal. And it's going to show you this terminal.app. Alright, you're going to press enter. And you're going to get a white window. Mine is red, because I'm special. Alright, honestly you can go under settings and change the colors and stuff, so you can do that as well, but like for you initially it'll be white. So this is your Unix alternative interface on your MacBook. You can pretty much do everything that you can on your, using your clicks and stuff you can do over here. Okay. First thing to note, the alternative for this is PuTTY in Windows. Alright? Yeah? If I say terminal, for you guys it means PuTTY. PuTTY.exe. Okay? Now, how do we log in from here to the server? Well, there's a command called SSH. Alright? SSH opens a shell pipeline or a shell connection between your window and establishes a connection to the other node. Now, SSH followed by a space. Alright? And then you enter your user ID initials. So in my case, VT094. In your case, XYZZZZoo. Okay. So whatever you have your initials, you enter that. And then you press iris1.partners.org. Cool? And then we're going to press enter. Now, everybody, you should pretty much at this point see this thing where it says, what's your password? Now when I type my password, it's going to stay like this. It's not going to show anything. Alright? So I'm going to type my password and press enter.
So if you didn't get prompted for a password, you got like a message.
Yeah, that's why I got out connecting.
Okay, so
You
basic
can still
stuff.
log in.
If you get this, are you sure? Always say yes, because you're sure.
SSH.
Why yes? Or why?
Okay. And then
Press enter.
your
Okay, now enter your password.
and then
So first time you try to connect, it will ask you, are you sure you want to connect? And then you say, yes, I'm sure. Why would I not be sure? Who do you take me to be? Not all that.
Am I
Just,
getting my password?
okay.
Let me use my option.
Okay, so if your password is not coming up, there's usually one reason for that. That means that either you are not connecting to it. That used to be your Wi-Fi.
Of course.
Okay. So, yes, hold on. Let me just go over one thing really quickly. In order to, party people in the house, attention, 1 second. So, in order to connect to the server, you must always be on a partner's network. And PHS, whatever, guest is not partners. You have to be on PHS Wi-Fi 3.
It won't let me log into that one, I've tried.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Try now.
Oh, so you may also have to delete that Wi-Fi from your remembered Wi-Fi if it won't let you log in, and then.
Delete this one or delete the
Oh,
guest?
you're logged in now?
So if you're not on PHS Wi-Fi 3,
It randomly turns people off, is the worst.
yeah,
Okay, so
PHS
try the
Wi-Fi 3 is
flip.
really
Make
crappy.
sure you try
But
that again.
Okay.
hopefully today it'll let you log in. Now,
Now I'm downloading it so fast. Don't
yes,
want you anymore.
don't be on guest. Be on the PHS Wi-Fi 3. If you're going to do this from home, VPN into the computer, VPN into partner's network, and then try any of this, because on your own you won't be able to log in to the PHS server, or sorry, ERS1 server. Okay, so here's what I did once more. I typed SSH, my username at partners.org, and I entered a password. Now, let me just decode this statement for you. The first thing is the command. SSH is a command. I put a space here. It's very important to put a space. That means that what is going to follow has to be parsed by the command, and it'll break it down based on the space. If you were to not put the space, it's going to get confused and think of this whole thing as one command. So spaces are very important in Unix. Okay? All right. Next, whatever is before the @ sign is considered the username. Okay? So the first part is username, @, and then this, after that, is the server address. If I had an account at Google, I could also type here server name, let's say googleserver.google.com, and it would let me connect like that if I had an account there. So as long as you have an account at any server, you can put your username at that server name with SSH, and then it will prompt you for that server, and then you have to enter the password. All right? If you know the password, then you can get in. Okay. Okay, so once you get in, let's take a second here to look at our prompt. This is our dollar prompt, right? Everybody can see this prompt? This is called as the dollar prompt, means that now we're in the shell, and the shell is ready on this login node. You're on login node ready to accept your next command. Which node am I in? What node have I been assigned?
3.
Node 3. So, here's your first thing that you will learn today. If you want to change your node, the way to do it is to just, once you're inside any of the nodes, you can just go SSH ERS1 node 2 or node 3, and it will take you to the next node. You don't need to enter a password, you don't need to enter a login name. Okay, you just go ERS1 node 2. And lo and behold, I went from node 3 here at the top to node 2. Okay?
Is there a difference in like what you can
Yes.
do in like one node versus
Well,
another?
not in terms of the software, but each of these nodes is mounted to a different hard drive, so to say. So while your files will be visible to you on both nodes, there are some files, for example, I usually create in the temporary directory, I create the course directory. And throughout the course, I'm going to put materials in the temp directory. And everybody will notice that the temp directory, while it's accessible on both nodes, the contents of the temp directory are different for each login node. So I only use the temp directory for ERS1 node 2. So if you are to get logged into node 3, make sure you go back and log into node 2. Okay, now, so we've done one thing, we've gone into our node 2 on ERS1. Next, what is the thing I want to do? I want to check my current directory. How do I do that? PWD, right? So if you do a PWD, what is your directory? In root. root is this directory /. There's a directory called phs home. Let me bring this up. You can see. The directory called phs home. And then in that, this is my user directory. Okay? So each of you will have phs home, and within that you'll have your user directory based on your user ID. Okay? Alright. So this is where you'll be working. I suggest you create a folder or a directory and something in here. So basically, this is pretty much what I've written here. Once you get here, then we're going to download and unpack the examples directory. So you don't need to understand what you're doing yet in this command, but suffice it to say that this wget command is a short form for webget, and what that does is it goes to this URL, which is on this site, which is on my site, vishalthopper.com/bioinformatics, on which there are certain folders in which resides this file unix.pgz.txt. Now, if you really want to go into depth, this is another server. vishalthopper.com is a website running on a GoDaddy server. And on that server, I have created a bioinformatics directory in which there is a WP content directory, in which there's an upload directory where I've uploaded this file. And so when you are saying wget, you're actually sending a request to this server and getting this file directly from that server. Okay? So you're going to basically copy and paste this on your AirSwan Node 2. And you're going to say wget this, including the quotation marks. Okay? Alright. I do not want you to type this out. It's a very long thing, and if you make an error, it's not going to work. Press enter. And lo and behold, you have a few seconds delay, and this the speed was 1.25 MB per second. This is 1 MB file, so it took less than a second, about 0.8 seconds. And you got your file, and it was saved on your local directory. If you do ls, you should be able to see this file. Look, it's right here. Okay? I have lots of other files, but you should be able to see this file and a couple of other things. Alright? So, I will pause here and see if you guys need any help. Tell me if you're here. If not, where are you stuck?
Yeah, I'm stopped at the password prompt.
Password?
I'm on the Iris one, no, 3.
Can I copy and paste?
Sure.
Yeah. And it's not letting you go in?
No.
Oh, wait, you went to.
Okay. So,
No,
So, that's my username.
not capital, lowercase.
Ah,
Oh, okay, I have to lowercase my
I
username.
think so. So try again if you just
Okay.
Control C.
Yeah.
Control.
And what is this from?
Yeah.
It's
And then
just a
just
file that
everybody
we
again?
need
Yeah.
access
Enter.
to.
Yep.
So more
And
things
this
will
time
be
try
available.
lowercase. And
And then if you type LS,
No,
you'll be
just
able to
do
see
here's
that
one,
it's,
not
like,
node
in
three,
your
here's-
personal.
Yeah, no, I
Like
tried
me
it.
on this node,
Yeah.
I have
This-
these things. I don't know what that is. This one, it's Perl. Okay. Yeah. Now you have twice. I wanna
Oh,
like
there's no research.
it's all this up. So like
That's
if
what I
I
mean.
learn all this, right? Like still somebody set up like the terminal to do this. It's like someone there's it's like in physics science there's always more that you don't know. It's crazy.
No, no. Open. Remove the research. Why is it going to research?
Probably because it's written right here.
Yeah, that's where it's connecting to. So, before saving it, just click enter and open, see what happens. So you click yes, enter your password. There you go.
Alright, okay, thanks.
Okay,
And
now you're gonna do wget. The way I showed you.
Yeah, but to get to it, it's only on node 2, right?
No, for now it's fine. Node 3 or node 2 doesn't matter. That was just for later. For today's practical, even if you're on node 3, it's fine. But if you want to practice SSH, Iris1, node 2, that's fine. It'll work within that.
Okay.
You just practice. Okay, so people are here. I mean in the server. I know you guys are here. So the next command over here, it explains there, it's to change the name of this from unix.txz underscore to unix.tgz. So tgz is a zip archive, and a lot of times you'll get these files that are zip files, so just copy that and change it, right? So that changes the .txt to .tgz. And then we're gonna extract it using this. Alright? I don't know why it's not working. Is it working for you guys? Yeah. Okay. And then you extract it. Right? So this creates a bunch of FASTA files and a bunch of scripts and a bunch of other stuff in your examples directory in it. Okay? So it's basically, there's a lot of stuff. I downloaded all these files for you, and it's a whole practical from here on out. Now, so there's a lot of stuff here and a lot of commands, and this is your practical. So what I want you to do is, at your own pace, once you have this step done, then I want you to start with reading all of this and proceeding with the practical in that directory. Okay? Yes?
I say copy pasted this and it says no such file or directory.
What did you copy paste?
This
Copy and paste this and the together. Yep. Well, actually, no, there's one more.
You've already done that
I don't know.
once. Yeah, you did it 3 times. So it worked the first time, but the second time it's saying that you've already copied and changed the name. So if I change your name from Ana Maria to just Maria, and then I said, hey Ana Maria, you wouldn't respond, right? You're like, no, my name is Maria. So if you do ls, if you're ever in doubt, just do ls
Let me just try typing.
and see what files are there. Right? So you have the file. So now the next command will work. Okay, so raise your hand if you are stuck or need help.
Is there usually, like, if you can't copy and paste something, is there an easy fix to that?
Yeah, you can copy and paste a lot.
No, I know, but like, is it,
Yeah,
it's not allowing for me to do it right now. I don't know if I,
Okay.
so like,
Wait, what are you doing?
I'm trying to copy that and paste that in there.
Okay, but right now it seems like you're not in here. It's not yet. Oh, you are in here.
Yeah.
Okay. So just right click and do it
Okay.
instead of doing a control V.
That's just so weird because it, like, for the other commands, it was allowing for me to do it. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Alright. So this is basically a tutorial about all the commands in Unix. So now first things first. Congratulations, you've successfully, if you have logged in to a remote machine. A machine that is not your own. It is owned by partners. It's a server, which is a big achievement because many of your peers have never done this. So, yay. That's a first. Okay. Next. Let's go over some of these commands. So the ls commands. The ls is a command to look at the contents of a directory. Alright? So here we're saying, what is the directory whose contents we're looking at in this command? So everybody look up. We're just going to go over these verbally, and then you're going to run these on your own. Yeah? Is that cool? So, okay, so the first command, ls unix example/unix. Which directory are we looking at the contents for?
Unix.
Unix. So where is this Unix directory located? Under examples. Perfect. All right, did everybody understand what we did when we did tar minus z x zvf? What happened in this command? Unzip, exactly. So this is it's equivalent to unzip or double clicking a zip file to uncompress. All right. So tar is a command to actually create or compress or uncompress a bunch of files. All right. Okay. Move.
What are those extra options they were using?
Right.
The XV,
Right.
ZF?
Yes. So those extra options are actually saying that it's for the F is to show you what's going on. The X is to tell you to extract. That means you're extracting and not creating. If you were to do CVF, it would create the archive. And the Z is to tell you that it's a zip archive. And then V, I think it's either verbose, meaning that give out the output on the screen. So these are some of the things.
Okay.
If you want to find out more, what would you do? What command tells you about other commands? Man. So let's see. Does this screen look crowded to you?
Yes.
So let's do clear. Wipe the slate clean and then do man tar. Okay. When you press enter, you'll be transported into this whole world of, text. So don't be too, scared. So CF creates an archive with this name, creates a tar archive. TVF lists all the files in the archive tar verbosely. XF extracts all the files from the tar file. So these are all the options, and it gives you all of these. What does minus capital A do? Appends to an existing archive. So you can go through these. If you have two zip files and you want to compare one file to another, you can do that with minus D or minus diff. That actually helps you compare two archives. So there's a lot of stuff that honestly is beyond the scope, because I can't go through every single option of every single command. In fact, I can't even go through every single command because there's so many commands. So the only way to learn, and this goes on forever, like literally there's 50,000 options that you can do. And I don't even know all of these. I only use a few because that's what you will end up using, like XZVF or CZVF. Those are the only few I use. So depending on how much you use this command, what you use, you can just go to man and look up the options. Or if you want to make things even simpler, you can go to Google and then just search tar Unix. And it's going to give you, you can't see this. Here, it's going to show you in Unix what is tar and what are all the options for that, and then how do we use it, and all this stuff. That said, if you go to your intro to bioinformatics.com, once you have your user IDs and password, you'll be able to go log in, and in your dashboard, My Courses, you will then go into your course, which is this one, Intro to Bioinformatics Fall 2018. When you click on that, you're going to be able to see about this course, and if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll get to today's lecture. And here, if you click on this, then it's going to show you all the commands in Unix along with what they do, right? I want you to not only do this practical here, I want you to go and try and run every single command here on your own. Okay? I mean, not today, but like definitely by Sunday, if possible. Before the next class is what I mean. All right? And then this is today's lecture. This is the PDF file for workbook and homework. So this actually contains even more homework and practical problems for you. So if you read this, there are all these. Let me download this and show you. And then there are these links. For example, this site called ryanstutorial.net contains more information about Unix and tutorials on how to go through this. So this contains a lot of stuff for Linux tutorials, bash scripting, binary tutorials. It's like, and the guys added more stuff to it as well. But here's where you want to go, just if you want to, and try to follow this tutorial. The command line navigation. I found this tutorial very useful. It's simply and very simply written. So this is extra practice. All right. You don't have to do this. What I do want for you is to basically do these commands and then go through this PDF file and try and see if you can work through this file. And then this is just a command of cheat sheet, so you can print this out and put it on your workbench, because it's hard to remember all the Unix commands. So this just gives you a key to what command does what. It's a PDF file. And I think this is the lecture from last spring. So feel free to follow that along with the practical. And there might be, better jokes last time, I don't know. but if until I upload this video, if you want to go and watch the practical video, you can also watch this. All right? I will upload these videos at some point later this week. Okay? Okay, so that's what you get on the website. Let's go back to here. So the cd command brings you back to your home directory. If you're ever lost in the Unix directory structure, if you find yourself, oh, where am I? Just do cd and press enter. And cd command, wherever you are, will bring you back to your home directory.
So,
What if it-
Get out of the-
Oh yeah, good. So in order to get out of man tar, just press escape or control C or wait. Oh, sorry, not escape, Q. Just press Q. Sorry. The Unix has these funny things. So if you're in VI or an editor, you have to press escape Q or control C. So sometimes I forget which one is for which. So then I just go through my list of escapes. So one is escape, one is :Q. Sometimes it's just Q. Sometimes it's control C. But you learn. It's it's part of the whole thing. You'll figure it out.
Why are like 100 ensemble files?
100 what files?
Ensemble. There's ensemble ID.
Yeah, so those are just FASTA files, which we will cover what those extensions mean. In the next few lectures, you will figure out the difference between FASTA, FASTQ, what is a reference file, what is a genome file. So don't worry about those. For now, just consider them as just text files, right? These are all text files for now, right? We'll figure out what each of these means in the next few lectures. Okay. I think the rest of the lecture is, this practical is pretty self-explanatory. This just tells you everything about the, command. If you're ever stuck and you can't figure out what the command does, you know the man command. You know how to, cd command, for example, changes directory, so it says change to a different directory. Don't press enter yet. So when you type cd and p, there's a useful thing where you can press tab and it auto-completes for you. For example, we're in this, so let's say we're in cd examples. Oh, sorry. And cd Unix. And okay, so let's see. Which directory? Oh, you're supposed to make directory. Person and party, okay. So let's say we go back. Oh, cd ... brings you back a level. Just important one. If you're in a directory structure and you're like, oh, where am I? And you do pwd and you're like 5 levels deep, you can start going back by cd ... or you can just say cd and it brings you right back to your home directory. All right? Okay, so let's say we're in examples and I create a directory using mkdir person and mkdir party. Right? Now if I do cdp and press the tab key twice, tab, it shows me everything that begins with P. Okay? Let's type another alphabet. So between party and person, where do you want to go? Let's go party. So PA, and I press tab one time, and it auto-completes. Okay? Just a small trick, saves you a bunch of time. You don't have to type party, person, the whole line. Just press tab tab and you're done. Or tab once and you're done. Okay? Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Just go through these commands. CP is copy, make directories, move is to change the name, remove is to remove stuff. Yeah. Just, I mean, so rm minus r is recursive. It deletes everything, including subdirectories. And so this is something important. Danger. A mistake using this option can result in a lot of work being accidentally deleted. So don't ever type rm minus r without realizing what you're doing. If you're in a directory and you type rm minus r, Unix does not have a trash can, which means that once it's gone forever. Like forever. You never get it back. There have been people who have lost their jobs because of this command. I am not kidding. A system administrator, by mistake, in the root directory of a company, typed rm minus r star and pressed enter. Literally erased millions of dollars worth of data and files in every single user and every single account. You're a system admin. Your job is to not write that command. I mean, to be careful about this stuff. And a system admin has, like, he's a super user, so they have superpowers, which is basically this. You know, great power comes great responsibility. Ben Parker said that. Okay. All right. So just be careful. Just a small story. You know, you guys probably don't have super user privileges, so don't worry. You're not going to delete my directories unless you're in my account with my privileges. But if you're in your own directory, you can pretty much do whatever you want. In your own directory, you are the super user. It means that you can delete everything or anything in your directory. Okay? Good. Every semester, this has happened. I put up files in the temp directory, and somebody will delete them. And I don't know who does that, but one of you is going to do it. So it's cool. I'm not going to blame you. Keep doing it. I'll keep copying it back. But this is how I find out. Some other friend of yours, one of you will then be like, hey, Vishal, I'm trying to run my alignments, but it's not working. And then I'll be like, oh, did you download this file? Yes, I copied everything. And I'll be like, did you specifically copy this file? And they'll be like, oh, but it wasn't there. And it's not there because someone else has deleted that file. Okay, so when you are running RM in a shared directory, in this class that will be in temp, I'll create a directory called mghcc underscore bioinformatics underscore class. In that directory, we'll be storing all the files that all of you are going to be using for running your alignments, including genome files, including your sample reads, assignments, all of those stuff. So if you go in there and do RM, that would really piss me off. But I'll go back and copy everything. So even if you do it, it's fine. But don't do it. Okay? Just be careful about when you're using this command. Just be careful. That's the message. Okay. All right. So the rest, I'll leave it here. I think we're gonna. We're out of time, but we'll meet tomorrow, and tomorrow we're going to go over the rest of the presentation, which will basically cover more about directories and path names, and go over some examples, and cover the remaining portion of this practical. We're also going to talk about how to map drives and how to transfer data between the server and your laptop. So how to bring data from the server. How to access the server, including FTP tools like WinSCP or FileZilla or all of those things. And we're going to talk about ERS-1 clusters, how to, basically what is a job submission, all of those things. And then, of course, there's more commands, and including the fact that we're going to go over this, the rest of the practical. Okay?
That's
Okay.
tomorrow, you said?
Tomorrow. So tomorrow's practical is mandatory. Okay, it's not optional. So I will see everybody tomorrow at 2. Cool. Okay. Yes, no. No questions from yesterday? Any doubts? It's okay, you can ask. Still recovering from the lunch coma? Yeah.
I have an experiment running that I'm gonna have to just go like take care of. Like it'll be like 5 minutes, but I went in like 20 minutes.
Okay, it's not a question.
Sorry. I have a timer going off and I'm trying to keep my eye on it. But
That's
if it
cool.
alarms everyone, I just
That's cool. We will be okay and accommodating.
thank you.
All right. Okay, so yesterday we talked a little bit about the directory structure. Does everybody remember the directory structure? Let's just go over it one more time. So this is the simplified directory structure where you have the root directory at the very top right here, and that's a slash. It's just a forward slash. And then within it are these other directories like etc, bin, user, dev, temp. And then further amongst users you have some other user directories. You could create subdirectories here and all of those things. So certain system directories. So system directories, as the name suggests, are the directories that are used by the system, by the operating system. When we say system, we mean the operating system. So that would be like the bin directory, which stores your commands. So commands like, do you remember any commands from yesterday that you used? Man. Any other? PWD. LS, to list. All of those are actually programs that are stored under the bin directory. Right? So these are system programs or system commands that are stored under the bin directory. You could technically, if you had the super user privileges, you could go in this directory and delete the ls command, and then nobody would be able to see their directories because you deleted the ls command. So that can happen, if you, which is why not everybody has admin rights. But that's a very real thing. It's literally just a file sitting inside this directory that you can go and say rm, which is a command for delete, rm ls, and it'll delete it, and then you won't be able to use the ls command anywhere. Okay. So etc is a directory that saves system data files. For example, it has system password, all the passwords that you have. Everybody's password are stored in this file, or at least the user who is on the system. Okay, so dev is a file representing the IO devices. So for example, if you were to attach a hard drive or another additional memory, it would show up under your device directory as another file. So it acts like a file, even though it's an external hard drive, where you can now say, my hard drive is called Hitachi, then there would be a file directory called dev/Hitachi, and then you can go under that, or dev/tapar, or dev/NGS, and then all of the things within that would be exactly like the files that they are that are present on your hard drive. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. All right. Okay, so now what is a path name? So a path name is a sequence of directory names separated by forward slashes, which identify the location of a directory, right? So let's say you are here and you wanted to get to MJ, Mary Jane Watson, or Michael Jackson, as the case may be. So if you want to get to MJ, who's a faculty, what would be the path to get there? So it would be /user1 /faculty /MJ, right? So that entire sentence is considered a path name because it consists of all the directories that you need to go through to get to the directory of interest. Okay? All right, so that's called a path name. But there are also two kinds of path names. There's the absolute path name, and then there's the relative path name. So as you can see, really your path to this directory depends on where you are, right? So nobody asked me this, but when I said what is the path name, you just kind of started from the very top. So that is the absolute path name, because there you're absolutely correct. You can just go from the very top and you can get here. But if I am in user directory already, then is there another way for me without having to consider this top location to get to this? Well, yes, there is. The path from there is simply faculty/MJ, right? Because relative to this directory, there's only 2 more levels I have to go through to get here. All right, do you see what I mean? Okay. And if I'm in this directory, now relative to this directory, how do I get to this directory? So, remember yesterday we were talking about dot dot and dot? Do you remember dot dot, two dots? So when you say two dots, it is a short name for going one level up in the Unix directory structure. So when you say, for example, you could say you're in the root directory or say you're in the bin directory and you want to get to the user directory. One way is that you can go cd/user1. That's one way. Another way is you can, if you're in the bin directory, you say cd:/user1, which means take me one level up and then take me to the directory I'm talking to. Okay? So if you are in, let's say, in faculty directory and you wanted to get to bin directory, how many levels back do you have to go? So you have to go cd dot dot, which brings you here. Then you say / another dot dot, which brings you here. And then you say bin. Okay? So here's a better way to explain this. So this is, like I said, this is the absolute path where you give the path from the root to that directory. But, so if you're interested, so here we've created a bunch of directories like this. The directory structure is such that there's home, then this number, and then project 1. And so what he's saying is commands use path names. For example, you could say cat or list the contents of the file /etc/password. Right? So that's why path names are important. Right? So if you want to figure out what is in this file, but you only know the absolute location of it, it's not in your directory, then you can just start by giving it the location of the file relative to the root or the absolute path to that file. Okay. So are you guys slightly confused or no? Not at all confused? Everybody's on board? If you are, that's okay. We can go over this again. Let me know. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. So if you are in this directory, how do you move to the directory project 1? So you're in this directory, how do you move to project 1? You would just say cd space project 1. Simple enough. You're now in project 1 and this is called your current working directory or your present working directory. Make sense? Okay. So now, if you want to move back to the directory this is the dot dot that I was saying. You can say cd space dot dot and then this will bring you back to the previous directory. Okay. So when you're in project 1, to move to project 2 with one command, you can go like this, cd dot dot / project 2. So dot dot / project 2 is a relative path name. Does that make sense? Okay. So here are some special directory names. This represents root, so every time you say cd / it brings you to the root. Just one dot represents the current working directory. So you could even say / or you can just say directory name blah blah blah. You can say / directory name if it's in your current directory, or you could say directory name and that both of those mean the same thing. Does that make sense?
I'm confused about the relative directory that you were saying.
Yeah.
Why is that the relative directory?
Okay, so it's relative to where you are in the directory tree. So if you are here, right, and you want to go here, right, and let's say you're very far from the root. So there's 5 levels between here and the root, right? So one way to get to project 2 is you would list out all the directories starting from root. So cd / directory 1, directory 2, directory 3, 4, and then your S391080 / project 2. But if you're in project 1, you could just say cd space dot dot, which transfers you this directory / project 2. So that just saves you a lot of time in typing. So that is called a relative path name because it's relative to where you are.
Okay.
Right? It's not absolute. Absolute path starts always from the root. Got it? Still not clear?
No,
Does it make sense? Okay. It's okay if it's not, I can write it down on the board.
no, I got it.
Alright, so you're now in project 1, so the current working directory, just dot dot. And so this is the relative path name, special directories. Here are some examples of changing directories where you can go to different places just by using these symbols. So if you say cd slash, brings you to the root directory. Here's another symbol, tilde, which brings you to the home directory. Guess what else brings you to the home directory? Just cd. If you type cd and press enter, it also brings you back to your home directory. And then here's an example of how you can go up 2 levels by just using these special characters, dot dot slash dot dot. Right?
Or what is the difference between root and home?
Good question. So root and home are very different because home is the directory where you log into, that's your space. And root is the topmost of the first directory in the directory tree for the entire server. Okay?
Is there like a search function when I don't really know where the directory is where I want to go to? Like, can I just do something like search and I know the name of the directory? Can you?
Yes, so there is a command for that, and that command is find. So if you're ever stuck and you don't know where the file is, so here's the command. It goes find. Where are you? So where do you want to find? So I would say dot and slash, meaning from here in all my subdirectories, so relative to where I am, and then I use the option minus name. And then within quotes, directory name, let's say Anna. Okay? So that's the command if you were to supposing you don't know which of the subdirectories Anna directory is in, you can just type this command and it will display if there is a directory called Anna in your subdirectory. Now I used a dot slash, which means search only in my current directory. If you were to just remove the dot and say find slash, it will start all the way from the top in the root and start searching. Just a quick warning, it takes a long time if you search from the root because it's going to literally go search for every single subdirectory everywhere.
Can you search from your home
I see that.
directory?
Yes, that's why you can say tilde slash or dot slash. That would be the same way. So you can go tilde slash, meaning start searching in my home directory. I don't know if I'm making the symbol right, but that's a tilde sign. So if you do a tilde slash, that means start searching from my home directory.
And then it just shows us the path, or does it?
It'll show you all the search results where Anna occurs. So if there is a file called anna.txt, it will list that. You can even, within this, you can then say, we have to still do this, but basically you can say anna star.txt if you only want to find txt files. So a star is like a special character. That means everything that has the characters Anna in it. So like Anna 1, Anna 1, 2, 3, Anna ABC. Find me everything that has Anna. Star means whatever can come here, but it must end with .txt. But if it's just a directory, you could just say search Anna directory like this. Just search for Anna, and it will only search for things that are Anna.
Can you put multiple stars in what you're,
Yes, you can create
like one before Anna, one after, and, yes, okay.
So you can just do that.
In DOS.
And we'll cover that in a second. Huh?
Is it possible that in the file name there is a star in it?
You know, you can't have a file name with a name star in it because those are reserved characters.
This is based off.
Okay, so that's, sorry for the little distraction detour. Okay, so investigate the file system. You can use cd, cat file, will create the contents of the file. It spits out the contents of a file for you. So let's say a file has names of 3 people. If you say cat file, it'll just list those 3 names. Okay? So if you were to go in the etc directory and say cat password, it'll show you a list of encrypted passwords. Okay?
Can I have one more question?
Yes.
I was, like yesterday I was just like trying these things out from home, and like if you want to do the cat with a file that's not like a text file, then how does it display thing, or does it display it, or just
It
gives
does.
an
It
error
does
message,
display it.
or-
Yeah. So whatever file, whatever it contains. even if it is a binary file, it'll still display it. Just the only thing is you won't be able to understand what it's saying because it's written in those funny monkey characters. You know, there's like those binary characters that you won't be able to see. All right, so ls is the command to get directory listing. And so this is just saying, find me the display the contents of the etc directory in root. So that's just another command. Okay. So some more commands. You have make directory to make a directory, remove directory to remove a directory, and move is to rename a directory. So supposing you say make directory Vishal, it will create a directory with the name Vishal. If you say rm directory, it will just delete that directory. Right? dir sense is a short for directory. Okay? And supposing you were to say move Vishal to Rebecca, then it's just going to change the name of the file, the directory name from Vishal to Rebecca. Okay? Cool? Okay, so here's a couple of things about the permissions, and I'm not going to teach you to change permissions yet, but I'm just going to give you a brief preview of what permissions are and why are they important. So permissions are basically in Unix, you belong to, every file has a certain permission for what operations can be performed on it by whom. Okay, so for example, there are three types of permissions. There's a read permission, write permission, and execute permission. What that means is that whoever, if someone can read the file only, if it has only read, then it is only, it can only be read. You can't write to it, you can't execute that file, all right? If it has write permissions, then you can read and write, but you can't run that file as a program. So when you say execute, and when it has all three, when it has the execute permission as well, that means that you can not only read and write, but you can also execute that file. So normally the execute permission is used when you're writing a program or a script, say in Python, then you want to give execute permissions so that then, you know, it can run as a program on the server, all right? And read and write is very similar to text read and write. Like you can write text to it. Okay, so R is read only, write means that you can both do read and write, and execute means that you can do all three. Is that clear? Okay, so when you see a file, you will see that the file is, it usually has 7 characters here. So each of these, as you can see, there's a blank, RW, blank, R, blank, blank, R, blank, blank. So what that means is that, sorry, not 7, sorry, there's 3, 3, 9, and 10. There's 10 characters that will tell you the entire status of that file or a directory, all right? So what that means is that the first one tells you whether, first character tells you whether it's a directory or a file. If it has a D in front of it, then it means that it's a directory. If it does not have a D, then it means it's a file. Cool? Okay. Let's just simplify this a little. Let's open terminal. Only I'm going to do this, nobody else start with me. Okay, so let's do something. Actually, where am I? I'm in my own computer. I'm just going to do ls. Maybe not the best place here. Here is. Okay. Okay, so yesterday we created this directory called examples. I'm going to do an ls minus l to see what are the contents of this directory, right? So when you get here, what do you see? You see that there are certain things that are having this sort of characters, and then there are certain things that have these kind of characters, correct? Right? The first character right here tells me that it's a directory. So party right here is a directory, okay? Then the remaining characters I have to explain to you, but that's, we'll get to that in a second, okay? So, now, for the other 3 characters, like this, this, and this, what do they mean? Well, they are the permissions for the owner of that file or directory. The second set of permissions is for the group, And the third set of permissions is for everyone else who is not the owner or part of a group. So what does group mean? Usually when you create an account on a server, by default, it'll add you to certain groups. But it could be that tomorrow you start your own group, say you start your own lab, then you'll be part of that lab. And you want to share a certain set of files only within that group, but not with everyone else. So then you can have a specific set of permissions that is just for the people in the group. So it could be that there is a directory which is accessible to you, the owner, who creates that directory. So that means you have read, write, and execute permissions there for yourself. And then for everyone else in your group, you only have read permissions because you don't want anybody else to write to that file. Okay? So people in your group can read it, and same for everyone outside of your group. Or you could create a directory or a file where you have read, write for yourself and the group, but for everyone else, it's just read. Does that make sense? You could even remove the read permissions for everyone, and then that way you only have read, write for yourself and the group. Okay? Clear so far about permissions?
Can you make it like a hidden file for everybody else?
Yes, you could. So if you remove the read permission here, then they will not be able to even see it. Okay. So here, for example, if you see this ds_store, which is actually a file, it has the permissions of underscore, meaning that it's not even allowing anybody to open it at all, because it's not even read. Whereas in your group, you can read this file, and as an owner, you can read, write this file.
But do others like still see it if they're like listed in the directory?
I think so. They should be able to still see it, but they won't be able to open it. Okay? Okay. So you can change the permissions of your file by using this change mode command. Alright? So depending on what options you have, you can look at the man chmod, and it will tell you how to change the file permissions. And so this is something that, I would recommend that you read this if you want to change permissions, and then go ahead and start changing them if you'd like for your own files. I personally don't recommend going too much into it initially, just because you might end up changing permissions that you don't really understand. So, which is why I don't talk too much about this, but feel free to read this and get a sense of what it is. Another way of changing permissions is that each of these accounts for a certain bit. So for example, 7 means that this is RWX. I forget. I'm not going to go in there. You can use numbers, for example. If I say change mode 777 .ds_store, then guess what? If you do another, now look, it has now permissions of read, write, execute for everyone to do everything. Okay? So 777 is a code that just means that give everyone everything permissions on this file, right? If instead of 777, if I did 755, then that means it's read, write, execute for the first person, but for the for everybody else it's just read, write. So here.
Wait, what first person? Like,
so the owner gets read, write, execute. The other people get read and execute.
okay.
Right? So anyway, so with a combination of these, so each of these numbers represent the permissions for the 3 of these, the 3 bits total to 7. So this is 1, this is 2, and this is 4. Right? So if I was to say chmod, the first permission is 411, and then you do an ls-al. So now you get read permissions for this, because I said 4. And then 1 means that you only get execute and execute. So this bit is 1, but the others are not this. So to restore it back to what it was, which was RW, so that would be 4 plus 2 is 6, and then the rest is just read. The second one is read, which is 4, and then the third one is 0.
Can you like explain it again, like how the
Yeah.
numbers refer to?
Which is that's exactly why I didn't want to explain it, but sure, now that we're on it, no, it's cool. We can just go over it quickly. It's just the way it works is. Okay, so here. So if you look here, everybody. So this RWX, each position stands with represents a number. X is 1, W is 2, R is 4. Does that make sense?
What
Arbitrarily, these are assigned these numbers. Okay, so here. So when you have a file, so now you understand the group, the user, the group, and everyone else, right? So each of these have 3 permissions, right? R, W, or X, right? So you have 3 blanks that you can fill here. It can either be R, W, or X. Now supposing I had R here, read for everybody. Then what would be the permission of that file? That would be R, meaning 4, 4, 4. That's 4, 4, 4 is the permission. If you had user had read write, and everybody just had read, then write is 2. So that means, so basically 4 to 1, 4 to 1, 4 to 1. So you have 4 and 2, so that's 4 plus 2 is 6, 4, 4. That's the permission that you have for that file. Does that make sense? Then supposing you only had blank, blank, blank for here. So now the permission is just 6, 0, 0. Right? And depending on what permissions you want, you can just give whatever number you want. Supposing you want to do, you don't want to do write, but you want to do read and write and execute, or read and execute. So you can do 4, 1. That's 5. So you can get 6, 5, 0.
So it's just the numbers that are assigned are just like 4 to 1, so that you know if you give like write and execute, then it doesn't like mix up
Yeah.
the
So read, write, execute. Read, write, execute. So based on whatever combination you choose for whatever person, you can just total that up, and that's your permission. You can go change mode 6, 4, 2. What would that be? So 6 says read write for users. For group, it's going to be read, and for everyone else, it's only write. Okay? Does that make sense?
How can you have only write if you can't read it?
Yeah, so you can, yes, so that's the thing, is that you will still be able to read and write to it. But it's like one permission. So that's
So
why
it
people,
bypasses the write, the read permission.
yes, because
Okay.
if you can write to a file, technically you can read it.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense, but honestly, that's the way the permissions were designed, more not to, it's more for convenience. Ideally, you just want, read, write, execute, whichever one you want, you can give it that way. Alright, it's more for flexibility. Everybody clear?
Theoretically, if you're bad at math and put 8 or 9 in there.
Yeah, what would happen?
happen?
Yeah, so let's see. So, I think it should give you an error. Change mode. Okay, invalid mode. Okay, so, and then the easier thing is you can also just give change mode minus W or plus W. or minus R plus R. That just means that instead of doing math, you can just go, hey, add write permissions for the user or the group. So change mode U plus 0 means that for the user you can add, or O plus, a group G plus 0, or G plus W, that way. So you can use those acronyms and then add those permissions. So feel free to read the manual for this if you want to do more, but like honestly, I find just the numbers are the easiest thing for me because it kind of puts everything in perspective. It's just 3 numbers, 4, 2, and 1. And there's user, there's group, and then there's everyone else. Depending on whichever one I want to change, I just change the numeric code. Okay? Cool? Okay. All right, so here are some other files. Cat and file name. Less is used to display the contents of a file so that it doesn't just scroll all the way. You can just go tab, you can press spacebar, and then the file keeps loading 1 page at a time. Head only displays the top 5 lines of a file. Tail displays the last 5 lines of a file. Okay? CP is used to copy a file. So you go copy file name to the destination file name. Move is to change the name of a file. Okay? RM deletes the file. Word count, WC gives you the counts of the symbols or words in a file. Okay? These are all actually quite important commands. Word count honestly is one of my favorites. It's got super powerful features. You should do a man on it and see what it can do. Grep is again a very powerful command. It's the equivalent of search. So you can search for keywords within a file using grep. So you can say grep Vishal in whatever file name .txt to search for Vishal the word, and it'll spit out how many times does it occur or where are the occurrences of this keyword in a file. Okay? So I highly recommend just going back and looking at these. Okay, all right, let's yeah. So there are some additional slides. Honestly, we're just going to work on the practical, but these slides, I had it from before. They're not useful, but if you feel like you want to go through it, go through it. It teaches you how to map network drives and stuff, but that just becomes a little more complex. The easiest thing to do is if you can just use file sharing program like FileZilla or something else that would just, these are tricks to map drives onto your local machines. And if that sounds confusing, don't worry about it. Okay? All right. But I've put in the slides if you're interested, you can try these out. These are for mapping network drives onto your local drive so that your network drive looks like it's on your computer. Okay? Okay? Is this here? Oh yeah. Here are some details at the end of this presentation. There are some details on change mode, which honestly I did cover. Here is some details as well on wildcard. So the character symbols that I just showed you, if you wanted to search for, say, multiple things, these are called wildcards. Again, something I'd like you to read on your own. But basically, for example, star can match to anything, including matches to nothing. If you have a backslash in front of star, then it only looks for the star character. Alright? Those kind of things. If you want to put in a certain number of characters that you want to search for, so say you only want to search for A, B, and C, you put them in these brackets, and then you can pass them to grep or to your search command that you're using on your own. Right? I'd just say if you're interested, you can read through the rest of the slides. They're a little more advanced. So if you're interested in learning a little more advanced Unix, go through the rest of the slides. But pretty much what I taught you so far should be sufficient for what you are doing. Same thing with these in and out pipes. They're just giving you examples of what you can do with pipes. So feel free to try them out if you want to learn some extra stuff. Okay? Does these are for people who are, you know, interested and want to do some extra stuff. So I put those in the slides. Okay, all right. Yeah, all right. So I will put up some Unix practice problems on the server. I think they're already up. Try to finish this by Sunday if you, again, it's optional, but if you want to get a letter grade or if you want to take it, you know, to the next level of Unix, definitely go and try to do that problem sets that are already up. The next readings for next week, I think if they're not up, I will put them up tonight, and we'll see you in class next week. Next Tuesday, David Ting is going to be giving his lecture at 3 p.m. So we're going to have 2 lectures on Tuesday, and then we're going to have a practical on Wednesday. So again, Tuesday and Wednesday, they're both mandatory next week. Okay. All right, so let's open our practical where we were yesterday. Has everybody been able to log in? Into the website? Or no? Yeah? Great. All right, so I am going to start to walk you through this. So if you can keep up, that's awesome. Otherwise, you know, if you feel like you're falling behind, I suggest take a break and just look at the terminal. Let me walk you through it, and then you guys can practice this on your own. All right? All right. So we are here. I use this command wget to download this file from the internet. As I said, if there is a text file or another file or a web page whose path you know, you can actually just enter the full URL, and wget will get that file for you from the internet, no matter where it is. So you can download files like that. Then I use the move command to change the name from this file. From here, I remove the _.txt to just tgz file. At which point I went ahead and unzipped this file, because that's what we want to do. And once you unzip it, you're able to get this directory called examples in your folder, in your home directory. So at that point, you can go ahead and look at the contents of the Unix directory, which is in examples. So if I was to look here, this is what I see. If I was here, I'm changing the directory to one level up using ... and now I can see examples /Unix, and it's the exact same. Oops, sorry, I meant to do ls. All right, let's go back 2 levels, and we can do ls examples /Unix, and you can see it's the exact same directory. So that's one example. All right, now here's an interesting thing. If you wanted, you could honestly just remove this directory examples using the rm-rf command. If you end up doing that, you'll have to get it back using the same steps that you did. So feel free to try it out if you want to. I'm not going to do it just because I don't feel like downloading it again. But you're welcome to try it out and then download it and follow the steps till here. Sometimes wget doesn't work for everybody, in which case you can use curl -o, which does exactly the same thing as wget. It's just that sometimes in some computers, wget is not installed. So then we use curl. Okay, that's an alternative. All right, let's try to figure out who am I. And that's a very philosophical question, but in the computer, the answer is VT094, which is my user ID. So that's how you are known on the network. With these initials and this number, and whenever you submit a job to the cluster or whatever action you do on the cluster, on the partner server, it is logged, and all of those logs are for your username, which means that if you were to do something illegal, they would just go back in the log and they'll know that you did it because you are identified with this. Which is also why you should not share your password with anyone, because if that person goes in and does something illegal, then it'll come back to you. technically you are responsible for this account. Okay? Just a word of caution. Okay. All right, so PWD. This is my home directory. Is this the root directory? No. The root directory is this directory. When I do PWD here, I'm just given this, which is where I am. If I do an ls here, these are all the directories that are there in the root directory, including source, module files, all of these other directories, lost and found, etc. Let's say if you were to go and try to see what's there in the folder etc. There's lots of files there. Is there a file called password? Let's find out. etc/passwd. Well, there is. What are the contents of this file? Let's try to do that with cat. etc/password. So, look, I found Justin Cohen's password. The problem is, or Kavita Singh's password. Well, there's definitely some information. Uday Agarwal, whose home directory is this, has this password. But this is an encrypted password. So, if I was to type this text on his user ID, it's not going to work. Because this is not his password. Okay, let's use this as an example for grep. So I'm going to use this to show you two things. First thing, I'm going to try and show you an example of piping. So let's pipe this and just do head. Right? Everybody look here, this is not in your practical. This is stuff that I'm showing you that's outside of your practical. Right? So, when I say cat password/head, what do you think it does when I'm piping it to head? So, remember pipes? So what does the head command do?
5 first lines, 5, 9.
Right. What does the cat command do?
List the contents.
List the contents. So technically what should it do? Should it show you everything or just the first 5 lines? That's correct. So it shows you, or maybe it's 10. I think head shows you 10 lines. Clearly I was mistaken. So you get 10 lines, and the first 10 lines include root information and bin information, blah blah blah. Okay, here's another thing. I'm curious to see whether my name occurs in this or not. What do you think? I don't think so. It doesn't. So, what about my user ID? There you go. So it does occur, except the V was capital. So let's try grep again. This time let's capitalize this. Boom. Alright, so it's case sensitive. So my guess is every single one of us is there in this password file. Alright? So, let's check the permissions of this file. Right? So it's read write for the owner and read for everybody else. So I'm not going to try and delete it, just because if I do, they'll be really mad at me. Technically, it shouldn't allow me to delete it, but I don't even want to try that out and test it. With the command for that would be rm etc/password. It would be really stupid if, supposing by some error, if this were to be deleted, it would create a lot of problem for everybody. So I'm not going to do it. Okay. Anyways, I could try something else. I could try making a file, and the way you can make a file is you can just say touch, and it just creates a blank file, etc/password, and so I'm not allowed to create files in the etc directory. Okay, so that entire directory is actually read-only for everyone, except for the owners who are the system administrators. Alright, this is fun. Okay, so let's go back to PHS home, or what is the fastest way for me to get from here to my home directory? CD. And where am I? I'm now home. Okay, now let's go to examples. Oh, so I don't have to type examples. I can just type EX and press tab, and it auto completes it for me. So that's another thing in the practical that you learn. Okay, so let's go here, see where we are. So here it's asking you to make two things within their person and party, and then you just showing you the tab trick, which I already did. Yesterday we went over this 2 tabs. Okay, so let's move into Unix and move copy. So if I do 2 tabs, it shows me which directory, so I'm going to go to move copy. So you can see with 2 tabs it shows you, if I just do a capital M, there are 2 files or 2 directories that begin with capital M. So it's asking me, can you be more specific please? If I say MO, now it works. Okay. So in here, this is the present working directory. So yeah, we're here. ls, yeah, we did that. So there's this file called, what is this file called? Huh?
Alignment.pasta.
Wrong.
Alignment?
No, it's
Or-
align mnet.fasta.
Sure, yes.
And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people will type alignment when they're trying to change the name of this file. And they'll be like, it's not working. It's not working. It's because you're not supposed to type alignment. You're supposed to type align mnet.fasta. And the final name is alignment.fasta. Or you just copy paste this. All right. So what we're doing is we're correcting a mistake. We created a wrong file. Let's change the name to align from align mnet to alignment. Okay. Now what's the names? Oh look, it's alignment.fasta. Okay. So we can create a copy of that file. So there are 2 things here. There's the source file, and then there's the destination file. They're both going to be in the same directory. Okay. What if I wanted to create this copy in a different directory? How would I do that? Let's say I want to create a copy, not in move copy directory, but in the previous directory, which is Unix directory. So how do I do that? Louder?
/Unix.
Yeah, so one way would be that I give a path of this file and say that the destination should be phshome, this is this, /Unix /that, right? Or I could just go here and say space, /. And what does that do? It basically says, oh, I don't want to create a file in this directory, I want to actually create it in the directory above this directory. So if I do that, then look here, there is no file called alignment copy, but if I go and do ls ... which is the directory contents here, look where the copy got created. It got created in the previous directory, right? Or I could go cd ... and then say ls and then go pwd to see where am I, and this is the directory where this copy was created. And that was because I wanted it to be created there. Okay? This gives you a tool of moving your directories or copying your directories from one folder to another. All right. So sometimes your bioinformatician will say, "Hey, your data is in this directory on IRIS1," and he'll say, "Why don't you go ahead and copy your files to your own home directory?" So you will use this command saying cp, where is my file? Let's say it's in data, re, ting, let's see, 72. No. Pool 2 / input /normal / okay, so these are some data from one of the sequencing runs, and I want to copy this file, brx42 flow r1. So what do? I say here, this is the file, Now this is just the source of the file. All right, so it's a long path, but here, let me pull it up here so as everybody can see it. So I'm saying copy this file. This is my sample I'm interested in, but it resides, where does it reside? It resides in this directory. Okay, and then where do I want to copy it? I want to copy it in my home directory, which can be given simply by saying tilde, because remember tilde stands for your home directory, and slash, and then just that would bring it to your home directory. You don't need to do anything else. It will just copy the name exactly as is. But since we're in examples, I'm going to say tilde slash example slash, just to show you that we can copy it into examples. Yes?
If you just want to like copy it into your like home directory, do you need the slash after the just
Otherwise, it'll just copy it to the directory you're in, not in the home directory. So right now, I'm in the Unix directory. I'm in examples Unix.
yeah.
I want to copy it in the examples, not in the examples Unix.
But if you just want to copy to your home directory,
Yes, so you would say tilde slash.
you need the slash after it.
Yes.
Otherwise, I would copy it to Unix.
No, if you don't put tilde, actually you don't need the slash, you could just say tilde and it'll bring it to the home directory. But if you put tilde slash, say because you want to copy it to your examples directory, otherwise it'll copy
Yeah.
to wherever you are. Actually, let's try an example.
I see.
So let's say I don't put anything, right? I just put fastq and press enter. I think it won't work. You know why? Because it's missing a destination. It's saying you told me the source, but you didn't tell me where am I supposed to copy it. So I have to give a space and I have to give a destination. So even with a space, it won't work because it needs a destination. So the destination can either be dot, meaning current directory, that would work. Or it could be tilde, which means home directory. Or it could be tilde slash examples, which is the directory I want to copy. Okay? As long as we have that, then the copy command will work. So now it's copying. It's a couple of GB. Give it a few minutes. And now if you see, cd dot dot ls, boom, this is my sample for that data. And this file is, yeah, so it's a lot of bytes, as you can see. So here's in ls, if you do minus LH, it actually shows you in GB what the thing is. So it's a 1.3 GB file. Obviously I don't want to keep it, so I'm going to delete it. BR. Okay? Cool? Alright. So that was an example, impromptu, of copying stuff. I'm going to let you do this part. You're just making a directory here. You're moving your alignment file to the directory specified here. You're looking at that and see if it exists. pwd, remove the read-only directory. You have to remove this directory that are not yours, so they'll not let you do it. You try to remove the test directory. All of these are just about permissions. RM directory, it will say test directory is not empty. So if a directory is not empty, it won't allow you to delete it. Okay? So you want to make sure your directory is empty before you delete it. Here's another example of a test directory which contains a file. So you say, okay, I'm going to delete the file first within the directory, and then I'm going to delete the directory, and then that would work. Okay? All right.
Like list like multiple files after each other, like after the.
Yeah, so then that's why you have the -r command, which actually helps you delete the things in a sequential order, so it'll do it for you. You don't have to go and delete every single file. Okay?
But you want to do that carefully.
Yes.
You don't delete millions of dollars to do that.
Yes, so which is why it's important where you are and what you're deleting is very important. So if supposing, there you have a directory called, let's say you have a directory called etc. I don't know why you'd have it in your own directory, but let's say in your home directory you have a directory called etc. And you wanted to delete that directory and you're a super user. And so you say tilde/etc. which is your home directory and the etc directory in your home directory. But let's say you forgot this. Now where is it deleting? The root etc directory, which contains the users and passwords and all the system data for everything else. Now if you're a system administrator, you're fired.
But we wouldn't be able to do that, right?
You won't be able to do that.
It'll give you an error message.
It should, and if it
So
did,
let's not find out.
let's not find out.
Yeah,
In my opinion, it's always better not to find out such things.
yeah.
Just because I don't know, for whatever reason, it shouldn't allow you. Technically, if you were to do this, then the system admin should be fired, not you. Because you're a user, you're allowed to make mistakes. You shouldn't have permission.
Who's
over
the
it.
system admin?
For Iris1 cluster, that would be Jonathan Jackson.
Do we like him? That means nothing.
Well, he hasn't responded to my email, so sure, go ahead, give it a try.
That would be a good way to get him to respond.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's, no, I'm sure he's a nice guy, he's just busy. Okay, so PWD, blah, blah, blah. This is about changing directories. We already done that. We've done that. This is about changing the name, moving from one directory to another. So notice that if you have a space, then it will assume that what you're trying to do is change the name of this to this, and they'll be like, wait, what's going on? I can't find this my thing. And then you'll be like, oh, that's a mistake on my part, because honestly, in this, it contains a directory my, sequences.fasta, and then sequence directory. So if you try to move this as with the my in it, it doesn't recognize it because, that's not the correct syntax. Okay. So the wrong file has been moved. Anyway, so you can continue with this. This is your sequence directory. You want to move this file into this directory. So the way you move that is by saying move this into this directory / okay. So here what it's trying to say is, the bottom line is, when you're naming directories, don't put spaces in them, okay? That's my take on this entire exercise, is it becomes really hard to type out a blank space in a directory name, because now you have to backslash it every time, because backslash space is a character, whereas space is just used as a delimiter for your command, right? So Unix treats a space meaning, okay, now I have a second part of the command. It doesn't think of it as a name. Do you know what I mean? So always don't use spaces in your name. So don't call a file my space sequences.fasta. That's just a bad name. Just call it my _ sequences or something, okay? Okay. Everything else is pretty much simple. This option -A shows you all the hidden files. For example, if you have a dot file, then it will show up. So if you want to create a hidden file, just make sure it starts with a dot. So here's an example. So we're in examples directory. I have these 3 directories here, but if I do an ls-a, it shows me a dot, these 2 files as well. So these files are usually hidden, but let's say I want to create a touch.vishal. So now I've created a file called .vishal, which contains nothing. But if I do an ls, do you see it? No. You can only see it if you do an ls-a, which means show me all the hidden files, and lo and behold, this file is existing. Okay? So if you want to create hidden files, just start using dot in front of that file. Cool? Which is why a lot of system files are hidden. So let's go to cd, and if you do ls-al, I have a lot of directories, so I'm just going to use a grep function to grep the dot. And so, oh man, crept everything with a dot. Okay, so now it grepped out some things that are hidden, but also contain these, so bash history, bash logout, bash profile, bash rc. All of